Hey, this is Matt. Once again, welcome back to another video. This is another paid request, this time for Ash. Thank you so much for that. For those interested in requesting any type of videos, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for The Contract, which some say 1999, others say 2002. So I don't know exactly what year to put on this. Because there's a couple movies called The Contract. There's one with John Cusack and Morgan Freeman. I think there's another one with Billy D. Williams in a supporting role. But this is one where Jeff Fahey is in it, but he's barely in it. And as a starting off, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, is that Stephen J. Cannell? May he rest in peace. The guy who created the A-Team and The Greatest American Hero. And as soon as I said that, he just killed. The sword comes up and slits his throat. I'm like, okay, goodbye, Stephen J. Cannell. But he does pop up a few scenes because it's one of those where a scene takes place and then, well, the day before. So we go back a day. And we're with this lady called Camilla Ruse is the actress's name. And she's just having a bad week. Stephen J. Cannell pops back up, is her boss. He's treating her like crap. One friend made fun of her because of her bad day at work. Her friend's boyfriend is a bit sketchy. Her husband isn't paying attention to her because they go out to dinner and he starts looking at the waitress. When she had a babysitter for her kid, but when they get home, the babysitter's making out ready to have sex with her boyfriend. The clerk at the grocery store, which I recognize the kid, it's actually Patrick Renna. He's the guy in the Sandlot, the catcher, who's like, you play ball like a girl. That kid. He plays the grocery store clerk, and he's not really good at his job, or he's just being really, on purpose bad at his job. He's like taking eggs and just slamming them into the sacks, into the bags. So our lead character, Camilla, I forget the character's name, she's not having a good week. So she goes to a bar, she gets drunk, and she meets this stranger that we see a silhouette. We hear a voice, we see a part of the guy's face. I'm watching and listening to this and going, that's Jeff Fahey. Now, we're not supposed to know this, because it's supposed to be this mystery later on. But again, I see portions of his face. I know who Jeff Fahey is. I'm a fan of his. Body Parts, I think it's a very underrated film from the early 90s. I like The Lawnmower Man for what it is. He was great in films like Planet Terror. I do like Jeff Fahey. I think he's a good actor. He's not always in the best movies, but a very commendable actor. And I recognize the cadence in his voice. I recognize he has a unique look to him. So again, I'm like seeing the little specks of light that you see like a corner here, and I'm like, that's Jeff Fahey. That's definitely Jeff Fahey. I say that to spoiler, when you get to the reveal at the end, lo and behold, I was right. So it wasn't much of a surprise. But yeah, she talks with this person, and the person, oh, that's a good name you have there, and again, she's drunk. She makes this list out. She wakes up, she doesn't remember what happened, and she finds out that her boss has been killed. She ultimately finds out that what happened was she wrote names down and in her drunken state signed a contract where now this person is going to go to each of the people on the list and kill those people. So the boss was number one. Patrick Renna, the grocery clerk kid, is on the list. The babysitter's on the list, and so forth. Now, after that opening, the movie just goes at a slow pace where she's BSing with her friends. They go to see the kid's grandma, her kid's grandma, played by Louise Fletcher. Well, she does nothing in this movie. I don't even know why they got Louise Fletcher in the film. She appears in like one or two scenes and then you never see her again. If you think, hey, Louise Fletcher, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and no, she never plays a much of a bigger part in the movie. So I'm kind of sitting there going, why is she even in the film? And Jay Fahey, in the first 40 minutes of the movie, he's in like one scene. He plays one or two cops, him and Michael Worth, which that name sounded familiar. He's done a couple martial arts type of films back in the day, among other films. Who looked in the case of her boss being killed. And like for half of the film, it's just either this setup or her BSing with her friends. The only death scene we saw was in the first minute. And you're kind of sitting there going, where's this movie going? When's this movie going to kick into gear? And there's some awkward editing in this too. That I'm sure the director thought he was being very cinematic or being very artiste about it. Where after, her kid goes to the grandma, there's a bit with her and her husband and they're making out and they're having sex. Then we'll cut to Rena, the kid from the Sandlot. He's in the grocery store. His boss comes by and says, hey, maybe one day you'll do this and that. And like happy-go-lucky. Then he's left alone in the grocery store. And the store's about as big as a Hy-Vee or, the grocery department of Walmart or whatever. Let me tell you something. You're not going to be by yourself. Unless you're the janitor locking up, you're not going to be left alone in this big-ass store by yourself. BS. Maybe if you're lucky, if it's like a tiny store, and hey, we don't have enough to afford more than one person, maybe you lock up, okay, goodbye, lock up when you're done. But not in this giant, grocery store. I've worked in the past in those kind of places. And believe me, they don't leave you by yourself because they may trust you, but they don't trust you that much that you're not going to steal anything. Except maybe if you're a janitor or something of that nature. But I was talking about the editing. Then it goes to him skipping along saying, I hate this store. And it pulls back to like a mirror looking at him. Like his reflection in a mirror. Then it cuts to black. Actually, no. Scratch that. He hits this fruit. And then it goes to black. Then it cuts to him skipping along saying, I hate this store. And it pans out to a reflection of him on something. And then it fades to black. Then it cuts to running around the store yelling, the store sucks, like fade to black. And then the lead and her husband setting it up. Then we'll come back to Patrick Renna being chased by the killer, more sex. Him being chased, more sex. He gets stabbed, she orgasms. I guess that's the director being artiste about sex and violence and all that stuff. Cool story, bro. But just that awkward editing before, like, why is it that he hits the fruit and all of a sudden the screen is black and then the pan out and you think, okay, it's a reflection. Maybe it's like, oh, when it pulls back and the reflection, we don't see like there's a shadowy figure over here or over here right behind him. No, I didn't see it. Maybe I missed it. If so, I apologize. and then it fades to black. Why did you go to black, come back, then fade to black? It just weird, awkward editing. So that's the second person on the list killed. And the store's completely empty except for him. So the killer can bash his face against a window, chase after him while he's screaming, grab him. You got nothing else to say? Stabs the guy. I'm sitting there going, no, he would not be by himself in this big ass grocery store. Bullshit. But anyway, it is what it is. The babysitter gets hung in the garage, which the scene goes by pretty quick. Kind of shit, like, we see her in the garage, and the killer's behind her, then puts the noose on her, and then she's hung, then the scene's over. It didn't really seem like he even attempted to do any suspense or any tension. Just boom, boom, done, over, okay. I mean, we're like 50 minutes in, so I guess, hey, well, we gotta move it along. Move along. It took you 50 minutes to get here. Now you want to say move it along? Now, like the scenes that should be longer, you made short, and the scenes that should be short, like her BSing with her friends, you made longer. Whatever. There's the obvious red herring, which is her one friend's boyfriend. So we know he's not the killer. He gets arrested. He's let go. He's made to be the fall guy. At one point, gets tied up and shot. Jeff Fahey, if you ever see this for him, you're not going to see much of him. Like I say, he appears like one time in the first 40-some minutes. After that, count on one hand how many times he pops up as a guy, as a cop, talking with our lead character. At one point, he's talking to the lead girl about this possible suspect. Michael Worth takes her home. Then Michael Worth is the killer and does a cat and mouse chase with her, where she gets the gun. She finds her husband not dead but beaten up. The guy's like, I took the bullets out. She's like, I reloaded. She shoots. I like his reaction. He's like, what the fuck? I'm like, that's all we say. You know, whenever you get shot by bullets, of course the one thing you say is, what the fuck? What do you expect? Paintballs? What do you expect? Like, she says she reloaded. She shoots you in the chest. You're like, what the? I didn't know that was gonna happen. Dude. I thought it was a spit gun. So he dies. Then Jeff Fahey gets there. She's paranoid. He calms her down. The cops arrive. Jeff Fahey goes, see, there's your friend, your female friend. She's in the car. The cops come. It's the lead girl and the husband. They're fine. Cut to that bar. At the end of the film, another lady approaches. The mountain silhouette appears, and it's Jeff Fahey going, that's a pretty name. You know. Well, he's not smoking, but he might as well should be. And then the end credits. And you said knowing. So what was the plot of this film? Jeff Fahey is the killer, but why was Michael Worth doing all this? Was Michael Worth also the killer? Were there two killers and they were working together? Were they doing this for the giggles, I guess? Just to kill? Because it didn't seem like there was any other motivation. Not money, not revenge, or anything of the sort. So I guess there's no other motivation other than for the giggles, for the kicks. And I guess I'm going to assume that Michael Worth and Jeff Fahey were the killers, so there were two killers. I guess. I don't see why you would ever watch this film for anybody out there. You're doing a shit job explaining it because it's a shit movie. There's not much to explain. She gets drunk. She signs a contract. She doesn't remember it. She finds the list. Just thankfully, she still had the list. Body count wise, gore wise, there's really not much. A guy gets throat slit at the beginning. Someone gets stabbed in a store. Someone gets hung. Another guy gets shot when he's tied up. It's not really a big body count. It's not really any big, like, gore gags or inventive kills. You don't really know much about the killers. It's supposed to be a mystery. It was a mystery for me because I guessed from the get-go it was Jeff Fahey. Because number one, you cast Jeff Fahey. And Jeff Fahey, you know, in this type of mystery, I'm like, well, it could very likely him be the killer. Because he's the biggest name on the card. Now, granted, that doesn't mean it's always the case, but there's a good chance of it. And then I see like his silhouette and pieces of his face. I'm like, oh, that's Jeff Fahey. And when the killer talks, I'm like, that kind of sounds like Jeff Fahey if they altered the voice a little bit. So, and that's the catch-22. 2022. The catch-22 if I want to speak. Because if you alter the voice too much, then it's completely cheap line tactic. I'm like, there's no way, unless he had one of those like Stream 3, Stream 4, like those weird voice things. There's no way he would change his voice that much. But you can't have him sound exactly, because it would give away the mystery way too soon. So how do you do it? That's a tough thing to... I know that's a tough thing to do, but it definitely didn't do it in this instance. And yeah, there's not much in terms of thrills or tension or suspense. Like I said, I don't think there's much in terms of mystery. The lead girl, Camilla, was there. You don't really get much in terms of her family or her husband or what's going on with their husband, other than him looking at waitresses and them sexing it up at one point. You don't really get much interaction between her and her daughter. Like I said, Louise Fletcher, I only remember one scene she was in. If she was in other scenes, I apologize, but I only remember one scene, and anybody you could have cast in that role. Like I said, Jeff Fahey is in one scene the first half, and the second half he doesn't really have much of merit to do other than sit behind a desk and talk a couple times. There's nothing noteworthy about the music or the kills. So, what is there to like about the film is my question. If you don't want it because you like Jeff Fahey, you're not going to get much of him. If you don't want it for attention, you know what did that a bit better? That had a little bit of a giallo feel. All American Murder, which had Christopher Walken. That one I thought was much better than this. All American Murder. Starred Charlie Schlater. Christopher Walken, he's in more than Jeff Fahey is here, and has a lot more memorable lines. You have a catchy song at the end. Into the darkness of the light. Once in a while you get some pretty gory moments in it. May not be the most realistic plot, but definitely a lot more fun than this one. This one just, there's not much in personality, not much in terms of technique or slick production value. So it's a very forgettable nothing of a movie. So with that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.